Honeybees by Jill Esbaum. Look, a honeybee. Buzzing through a warm afternoon, a little worker bee dips into colorful flowers again, and again, and again. From each flower, she collects the sweet liquid called nectar. She sips the runny nectar through her straw like tongue and stores it in a special just for honey tummy. A honeybee visits hundreds of flowers each day, tasting each one with its feet. The tongue is called a proboscis. There's his tongue. The proboscis, I believe, is how you say that. Flower pollen dusts the bee like fluffy golden snow. Every once in a while, she stops, rolls the pollen into balls, and stuffs these into tiny sacks on her back legs. Honey, I'm home. When the bee is so heavy with nectar and the pollen, she can barely fly. She heads home to the hive. Thousands of other workers are arriving home too. Inside the hive, the air hums with excitement. Bees bustle to and fro. The whole colony works together for its queen. As long as she is safe and healthy, so is the hive. Worker bees bring her food and carry out her waste. They fan their wings to keep the hive cool. One of the most important jobs in the hive is caring for the queen's many eggs. And right here, guys, is a honeybee egg. And a hive is made of honeycombs, and that's the honeycomb. Through spring and summer, she lays up to 2,000 eggs per day. She wiggles her abdomen down into the honeycomb and drops each egg into its own six-walled cell. An eggshell melts away, and hello, larva, the chubby baby looks nothing like a bee. Yet, for 3 days, the larva is fed a milky mush called royal jelly. Then it's switched to honey pollen mixture called bee bread. Each larva weaves a cocoon inside its body and keeps growing and changing. There it is. Crawl! Finally, a honeybee chews open its cocoon and climbs out of its cozy cell. Ta-da! Honeybees keep their hive clean and neat, so the honeybee's first job is to clean her room. Hives can be found in unusual places. Many honeybees live in human-made hives. A beekeeper opens a hive to remove part of the sticky golden honey. Yum! Bye-bye, Buzzy. Hope you find a lot of lovely flowers. Busy as a bee. There's plenty of work to do in a honeybee hive. Every worker does each of these jobs in order, moving from one to the next every few days during her 6 weeks of life. Her first job is cleaning out the cells. And the second job is to feed the queen and larva. And it says worker bees are always female. Each hive only has one queen bee. She's the only one able to lay eggs. The eggs are as tiny as the very tip of a brand new crayon. Their third job is to build and repair the honeycombs. Their fourth job is to make honey from nectar. The fifth job is to guide the hive entrance. And the sixth job is to fly out to collect nectar. Male honeybees, called drones, do not work in the hive and only live long enough to mate with the queen. When fall arrives and the weather turns cold, drones are kicked out of the hive. More honey, please. Bees make honey from flower nectar. They store it in the topmost cells of their honeycomb. They eat both honey and pollen. Pollen is stored in cells below the honey. And one day, a worker bee brings home enough nectar to make only a tiny bit of honey, but a hive might have 50,000 or more bees. Working together, they can make as much as 2 pounds of honey per day. That's enough to fill 2 canning jars. The bee is the key. When bees fly from flower to flower, tiny grains of pollen stick to their feet, then get dropped off on another flower. That's called pollination, and it helps flowers make more flowers. Bees pollinate many food crops too. This is the salvia plant. Without bees, We couldn't enjoy things like apples, blueberries, cherries, cucumbers, strawberries, or melons. Bees are important to many ecosystems. You can help them by planting nectar rich flowers like daisies and marigolds and blue flowers like salvia. Bees seem to like the color blue. You might also plant any of the fruits or berries mentioned above, as well as broccoli, pumpkins, and tomatoes. Here's a bee maze, guys. See if you can get the bee to the honeycomb or back to the hive. Waggle dance. When a worker bee returns to the hive, it sometimes does a waggle dance. The special wiggle waggle moves are actually directions that show other workers where to go find flowers. Can you look at the picture and waggle dance like the honeybee? Guys, it sounds like bees are pretty important. Next time you see a bee, say thank you.